So now the drainage issue is fixed, and now Becky's landlord is trying to convince her that she's the one who should be on the hook for paying the plumber. What's up guys, how's it going today? For those of you who don't know me, my name is Jérémie Nantel. I'm a real estate agent here in Winnipeg, Manitoba with Royal LePage, and I'm super excited to have you here today. I think today's video is one that a lot of you are going to be able to take a lot of great value from. Now, to get this whole thing started, the other day I went to visit my fiance at work, and while I was sitting there talking to the bartender, we came across the topic of renters' rights. Now, I know it seems like kind of a weird topic, kind of a dry topic. I promise we weren't just talking, oh, what's up with renters' rights? This came up a little bit more organically. Right, now to give you a little bit of context, we're sitting at the bar talking, and I'll call her Becky just for the sake of this story. So Becky starts telling me about this horror story that her and her roommate have been going through over the past few months. Now, to be fair, I think horror story was a bit of an exaggeration, but I will say it was a pretty big inconvenience. Basically, what was happening was every time she went to use the tub, there was all this black, gunky discharge that kept coming back up through the drain, so they couldn't drain the tub properly, right? She couldn't take a bath, even taking a shower, all this stuff would just come back up and you'd be standing in all this gunk and goo, and it was disgusting. Right, and so she reached out to her landlord and she said, we need this fixed. And for over 2 months, nothing changed, nothing happened. All right, now what happened eventually was Becky got fed up with the situation. She let her landlord know she was calling a handyman. They came in, within about a half hour, they were in and out, they fixed it, and she could finally have a bath in her own apartment. So now the drainage issue is fixed, and now Becky's landlord is trying to convince her that she's the one who should be on the hook for paying the plumber, the guy who came and fixed her tub, which, I mean, it's ridiculous, right? Anyone who knows the renters' rights, you know that really it's the landlord who should be on the hook for that cost. So thankfully, Becky's been renting for a few years now. She knows her renters' rights, but I think unfortunately this is an issue that's way too common, right? Especially with young people, people who you may not be in your first home yet, but you're living away from home and you're renting a place and you don't necessarily know all of your renters' rights. And so I wanted to make this video and give you a bit of a better idea in terms of what are your rights as a renter to make sure that you don't get taken advantage of by your landlord. That being said, I will try to cover as many widely applicable rules and regulations and kind of best practices and responsibilities as possible, just so that you have a better, more well-rounded, full understanding of this subject. So the landlord's first obligation to the tenant is to, number one, make sure that the unit is available to the tenant on the date they say they're going to move in, and make sure that they've maintained the appearance of it, right? Considering the term of the different tenancies, you want to make sure that it's in good condition for that tenant when they move in. That's number one. Now, number two is the one that really affected Becky's situation. The landlord is actually obligated to do repairs and ensure that the unit is functioning as it should, right? Everything needs to be in good working order. And so in this particular case, we see that it's the landlord's obligation to Becky to pay for that repair so that her unit is indeed in good working order. The third obligation and responsibility that the landlord owes to the tenant is to ensure the supply of essential services such as heat, gas, hot water, cold water, all the different utilities that the landlord is required to provide. It all has to be there for the tenant, right? So if you as a tenant say, I don't have access to hot water or cold water, I don't have utilities, right? I don't have electricity, water, whatever it might be, you go to your landlord and you say, I know my renter's rights, you are required to provide these to me. Now, in terms of the tenant's obligations to the landlord, number one, pretty obvious, pay the rent on time, right? That's the biggest thing, is the landlord is required to keep the unit livable, keep everything in good working order, make sure that you have good living conditions, make sure that everything is working as it should. You need to make sure that you pay your rent on time. It's also your responsibility to keep the unit clean, so make sure that you're not trashing the place, right? You basically want to leave it as you found it, or else there might be some problems at the end of your term. The one thing to keep in mind with if there is damage that occurs, make sure that you fix it in reasonable time, right? So make sure that you don't just break something. If you put a big hole in the wall, don't just leave it there when you finish the term of your lease or your rent or whatever it is. Make sure that you take care of it so that the landlord doesn't have to. If you do that, it'll look good on your renter's record. As a tenant, you're also obligated not to disturb others in your rental complex, so making sure that you're not disturbing your neighbors, and also not to endanger anyone. So making sure that when you are in the unit, be responsible, act like an adult, don't do anything that would cause any potential harm or danger to yourself or to your neighbors. You don't want to be that guy or that girl. Now, the final one, and this is one that Becky did a really good job of, is you have to notify the landlord whenever repairs are needed. Right? So this is something that she did for almost 2 months straight. She notified her landlord, she called him, she texted him, she emailed him. She made sure that she had the paper trail to say, listen, I contacted you, I reached out 5, 6, 7 different times, and I never heard back from you. You were dodging my texts, missed my emails, whatever it is. I reached out, I have the paper trail, I made you aware, and when nothing happened, I went out, I got it done, but you're still responsible for paying for that repair, right? So I think Becky did a fantastic job. She knew her renters' rights, obviously. Having that 5-year record makes a really big difference. But hopefully after today, you have a bit of a better idea of what are your renters' rights so that you won't get taken advantage of. So there you go, guys. As a renter, make sure that you know your rights and don't waver. Your rights are there to protect you. Make sure that you stand strong on them and don't let anyone push you around. If you enjoyed this video and found some value in it, it would mean the world to me if you hit that subscribe button. Also, like, comment, let me know either what you want to see in future videos, or if you have any questions, just drop them down in the comment below. It would also mean the world to me if you share it with a friend who you think would benefit from the content in this video. That's all I got for you guys today. Hope you have a great rest of your week. We'll see you again next time.